let's go further and see what are the evolving customer and market expectations. As we already pointed, time to market is not it's earlier, or even today for some organization it's planned. But going forward, it would be opportunistic. I mean, we cannot wait on scheduled releases, because the competition, everyone wants to be in a competitive space. So everyone is looking at having an edge. So if you want to have an edge, it's all about the time to market. Clearly makes a difference. Again, the delivery model was planned. I mean, earlier what used to happen is typically organization used to wait for 6 months, and in 6 months they basically used to, after 6 months they used to release one product, and after 6 months, only they would get to have a feedback. But now with the changing market needs, what is happening is incremental releases. What does that mean? You release something, you gauge customer feedback, you see that it's working fine, you release a improvised version of the same software. If you think that probably the things are not being accepted or being carried well, you go back to the development organization, you change things. So it's all incremental based on customer feedback is the main thing, and you actually have to take back customer feedback and incorporate the same and deliver whatever is being required. To have such an environment, there is a need for deployment automation, wherein at any phase in time you know what is working for you, you know what can be released. So the release part actually needs to be automated based on whatever changing customer expectations are. Again, one of the key things that needs to be highlighted is release frequency. I mean, earlier, as I said, it was between months to years. But nowadays, every now and then, go into Google App Store. You'll see every version of the software. It keeps upgrading every day. So it's like, we need to have something moving while we talk about deployment. So having said that, I think, we established that there is a need for DevOps, why DevOps is important, and we'll actually have to get ourselves ready to embrace that challenge. And as I said, the first, while understanding the problem is one thing. Once you acknowledge that there is a problem is half solved. So it's very important to understand that the problem exists, and if the problem exists, we'll have to acknowledge and then look forward to it. So recently, IBM has acquired UrbanCode. So UrbanCode basically is UrbanCode is was a company which had a set of tools with the name of you deploy and you release, which I'll talk in detail in the slides to come. But they basically help realize the UrbanCode methodology, the DevOps methodology. So earlier also, IBM or some other tools in our with our competitors, or some other tools with in the open source help realize DevOps. So in this presentation, my focus is not about IBM tools, or what the main agenda of today's presentation is to help you realize the importance of DevOps and how IBM is tackling that challenge, right? So there are other products as well available, commercially available, as well as available in the open source, which to some extent are doing the same job. They have their sweet spots, but no single tool can do all the things. So it's basically an amalgamation of, a expression of all the tools to come together and help you realize the DevOps methodology. So what is important is to understand, where are the gaps and how do we actually have to fill those gaps. So when we talk about changes, while we talk about changes, we have to understand when we talk about applications, when we talk about components, it's important to understand where are the changes. For example, I took an example of a banking application which has a front end, which is a web front end, or let's say a middle layer web application server, or probably a mainframe backend. So I don't expect mainframe to get changes so frequently. I mean, because that is pretty stable. So that is something we know. We call it a system of records. system of records is something which we know would not go, which would not change that frequently. So, and when we talk about web application, the front end, we know that, it's basically on the customer needs, what the value that we want to provide. So these are the systems of change. So while we segregate these three different types of systems, that is, the system of change, the system of differentiation, and the system of record, it becomes important to understand, the slide that you see, the graph that you see on the right-hand side of the screen is the different layers and they change frequently. So the application configuration, is bound to change more frequently. And, likewise, the hardware or the OSs or other things are unlikely to change that frequently. So we already had certain tools from the IBM's kitty, which actually were able to deploy, and with UrbanCode coming in, where UrbanCode sits in, I would call UrbanCode would sit while we talk about system of change, systems which are changing more frequently. So these are the places where UrbanCode fits in. Having said that, each of the automation tools available in the market has their own sweet spots. Now, while for any tool to do good in the market, it has to do well in its sweet spot, and then it could be it's the job responsibility of the automation engineer to actually stretch along the boundaries. So nobody, probably while we talk about urban deploy is typically, we say that it might be used for, it should be used for application configuration layer, but nobody stops it from, using it in, let's say, in the middleware layer. So that is true for each of the automation tools that we have available. So it's about doing well in your sweet spots and then, stretching to where you cannot, you're not made for. So that's where UrbanCode sits in. We coming to this slide which talks about continuous delivery. So we know that continuous delivery is a process that integrates continuous integration with automated deployment, test, and release, creating a continuous delivery pipeline. So while we talk about UrbanCode, so UrbanCode has three basic components. While I talk components, these are three different products. The first product that you see on the screen is uRelease. uRelease is typically meant for release managers. It's a release management tool. uBuild is typically used for building your application. It's basically firing your application. People who are aware of, let's say, BuildForge. So you can say, it's a synonym to what BuildForge does from already available rational tools. Then we have uDeploy. So uDeploy is basically used for application release automation. So the point to take from this slide is one needs to clearly be able to differentiate between a release management and release automation. So release automation is the area of release engineers who basically build applications together using uBuild or any build tool, and then take those EXEs, take those components, and get them deployed into environment. And uRelease is basically release management, which is typically a job of release managers, which orchestrates the complete workflow, right from what the development engineer is doing to to the point till the product is out in the market, and then again receive the customer feedback from the market and provide it back to the development organization, covering the complete pipeline. So release management, we have uRelease, and release automation, we have uDeploy. So let's dig a little deep into release automation first, because that is something which probably most of that is the backbone of continuous delivery. And then of course uRelease is too needed, but release management is still being done. Somebody are doing it efficiently using even let's say Excel sheets. So we'll see how uRelease helps doing release management and what